Hello, and welcome to Nothing But Net's final podcast. That's the season-ending podcast. Season 4 just concluded in Kigali, Rwanda, of the Basketball Africa League. My name is Jackson Mvunganyi. I'm joined by my partners here, Muqbil, Yabarow,
Yes,
and
sir.
Mike Hove.
What's good, gents?
What's good, fellas? What a season. What a season. First time that the Basketball Africa League expands to include 12 teams playing in South Africa for the Kalahari Conference, moving north to Egypt for the Nile Conference, and then to Dakar for the Sahara Conference. Great games, great matchups, really enjoyed it. Let's start off by looking at some of the conferences. First of all, how are you guys doing? Let's get a little mic check.
Fantastic, man. I'm doing great. I know Mike's doing good too. Just
Just came from vacation.
coming off a little.
How can you not be doing well?
I can feel the energy. Well rested.
Unfortunately, it's not rubbing off on me, so I need some of that.
Just a little
The
bit.
vacation aura or energy coming.
On the
Mike,
way.
how you been, man?
I'm good.
It's
I'm
good
good,
to
man.
see you.
I'm excited to be back.
You missed out on that final game
Yes.
where you were there for the semifinals.
Yes, right. Yes.
We'll talk about that game between FUS de Rabat and your
Town
team,
Tigers, of
Cape
course.
Town Tigers. But let's start off with South Africa, Kalahari Conference.
Yeah.
The first time the league expanded to South Africa.
Yeah.
How did South Africa do in terms of hosting these games? And let's talk also about the debutant teams.
Ooh, so Kalahari Conference to me was very impressive. It started off the BAL season in the right way, the way that you wanted to be started off with. The vibes were there, the feelings were there. You felt like you wanted to be right there.
Absolutely.
I'm like, why are we not there? So it was great from that perspective. You have Petro, definitely showed themselves as a veteran presence. You had FUS that came out on top of that conference, really showcasing that debutante teams have the ability to be able to just come into a tournament and nobody knows you, and you just
make your mark.
absolutely
Yes.
run away with it. Absolutely,
Mike, as a South African, maybe can give us what did they do? What is the South African the secret for them to have
such a successful conference.
Yeah.
Success was very relative. It's a very, very big. Listen, they made it far.
Yeah.
We put it that way. However, their conference play was not as successful, right? They only.
No, you're talking about the team, Cape Town Tigers.
Cape Town
Yes.
Tigers.
Okay.
Right?
I was talking about the
we're
host.
talking about hosting the conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look. South Africa was able to host a successful conference. This is not new to South Africa in terms of hosting sporting events. I think it being in Pretoria, it was very central. The arena wasn't far, but at the same time, you saw the people come out. I think BAL did something exceptional, which was the integration of bringing social life to sports. Right. That marriage has always worked.
Absolutely.
And so you saw the who's who of anybody you could think of: Pearl Susi, Nadia Nakai,
The
Makleda
socialites
Dogo,
and the
all the
influencers.
socialites and influences.
Yeah.
It was a thing to be at a BAL game.
Yes.
So I think that helped. Of course, having some of these people perform during the halftime and pre and post games is another contributing factor. If I, for example, let's say Mike is not a big basketball lover, but I'm a big fan of, and a lot of these guys that performed, they are superstars in their own right within South Africa, right? And so if I'm a big fan of Nadia Nakai, for example, right, I am gonna rock out, even if I'm not there for the basketball.
Right.
I'm definitely gonna be there.
Absolutely.
And from there, I think it's just
From
like
a marketing
snowball effect.
standpoint,
Phenomenal.
they did a great job.
They did an exceptional job.
Absolutely.
So I think that worked out.
Okay, so then let's talk about basketball. They did their job of hosting, a great tournament.
Yeah.
But what about the teams? We saw some new teams. FUS de Rabat,
Yep.
Dynamo Burundi. How was...
Man, FUS definitely showed us what they did not only translate necessarily from the conference, but they also were the number one ranked team going into the playoffs as well because of how well they did. With that being said, you have Dynamo, who balled out their very first game, but due to some politics, were not able to continue and further their their tournament, how should we call it?
The journey?
The journey concluded basically by game 2. Unfortunately.
Unceremoniously.
Absolutely.
It concluded undefeated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
At least they have a
point
win
out.
record.
Right.
winning
They
record.
have a win record.
Right,
Yeah.
so they can say on a technicality they were the only team to never have lost.
Undefeated.
All depends on how you look at it.
Absolutely. It's about perspective.
Yeah, and then you had the veterans teams in the Cape Towns and Petro as well. Petro being the team to win the entire,
Absolutely.
So it's the Kalahari Conference really had the winners, and then Cape Town Tiger kind of, finding a way to make it through, but also making it to that third place game as well.
Right.
So
we should mention that the Cape Town Tigers actually beat Petro de Luanda, the only game
In the
they
first
won.
game, right.
Absolutely. So you also have, as a Cape Town Tiger fan now, you have something, even as the players, you can think to yourself, look, the team that won the whole thing, we were able to beat them. Right, we beat them.
Yes.
So, it's a something that they can basically look forward to and bring it to them for season 5. But while we're still speaking on this, we might as well talk about, the elephant in the room, Dynamo.
Yeah.
We had the pleasure of speaking with one of the players from Dynamo, Israel Otobo, and basically his, like you mentioned, his unceremonious exit from the tournament. But what he was able to do was, like some players from Dynamo, was able to play for a different team.
Right.
So he transferred over to APR. If APR had made it to the playoffs, he would have been eligible to play. But unfortunately, they weren't. So that's kind of ended his tournament. We spoke to him and basically asked him what his advice was for some of the young players upcoming in Africa. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, for me, I'm just gonna say that you have to be focused, you have to be determined, you have to have the mindset, and then overall you have to have good how should I put it, good coaches, the team you are in, if it's a team academy, you have to have good people around you, people who are willing to help you, people who are willing to see you succeed in life, and then you as a person, you have to have a very strong mindset, and you have to be focused in life. So you just have to train and keep pushing, because it is for sure that you are definitely going to get those opportunities. So you have to be ready, because when those opportunities is gonna come and then you are not ready, it's gonna be you are not ready. So it's just gonna
You're going to miss
pass you
them.
by,
Yeah.
and then you miss it big time. So what I'm going to say, that you really have to train and stay ready. You never know, something can just come up for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just a follow-up question on that. What are some of your goals? What's your end goal with basketball? And what levels do you want to get to? Of course, obviously, I would believe NBA, but from here now where you are, what do you think are your next steps in the game?
Oh, okay. For me, right now, for real, I'm just trying to win the league over here, and then we see how we can get to BAL. But overall, my goal, I'm trying to get into the G League, so I see how I could play and then train, improve, and then see how I could get in the J League in the US. So that's my goal.
As we were saying, just listening to Israel, that young man really, throughout the entirety of the interview, just really was saddened,
absolutely.
by not being able to continue, because he showed so much talent in that first game. And I feel not only bad for him, but I feel so bad for
the entire team,
the rest of the team.
Yeah.
We saw another player, Deng, right, who went on to go and play for Cape Town Tigers. What did he show in those games before he got hurt? Unfortunately, but.
Again, we'll never know how good this team could have been, everything else in retrospect. But one of the questions that we asked him was if he felt any pressure being in that tournament. And remember what he told us was man, I grew up in Bayelsa State. We're playing in the sun, outside.
You give me AC all of a sudden?
If you put me indoors on hardwood with AC,
I'm going
Can't
to
touch
shine.
me.
He's I'm not even worried. This is fun to me.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to see Otobo play next year, Season 5 at the Basketball Africa League. In case you're just joining us, this is Nothing But Net on the Voice of America. I'm Jackson Mvunganyi. That's Mike Hove. Muqbil Yabarow. Petro de Luanda won the Basketball Africa League, the first team in the Sub-Saharan Africa to win the tournament. I don't know what they did, what the magic was, but
It
the
worked.
trophy has always been up north.
Yeah,
It's now down south.
yeah.
They beat Al Ahly Libya, a debutant team, 107-94. This year, again, like we said, the BAL League expanded to 12 club teams from 12 African countries, playing 48 games. Al Ahly Libya's Julwal Achwil was named the most valuable player of the 2024 Basketball Africa League. He averaged 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Speaking of debutants, this is the first time
Al
Lual
Ahly
has played, but
Yes.
also Lual has also played in the
Abs-
BAL.
Absolutely. You know, in his post-game interview, he was being asked about, you know, how did it feel to partake in this tournament for the first time this season, right? And basically he was saying, look, we did everything as a collective unit to get the job done. Unfortunately, we just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he said he is definitely willing and able to come back, you know what I mean, and help another team be able to get to where they got to, because he was absolutely a dominating force in the entirety of the tournament. Unfortunately, for that finals game, it seemed like Petro figured out a way to kind of just minimize him per se.
Yeah.
He only ended with 15 points, but Petro found a way to minimize him and force everybody else to beat them. And I think that's what really helped them, you know,
Absolutely.
to get the
And
win.
shout out to Al Ahly Libya, a debutant team that made it all the way to the playoff finals. That
Rocking
was
out.
huge. We were talking about how we didn't even know Libya has a basketball team
Yeah.
who has a basketball program. And here they are making their debut in the BAL and shining,
And knocking out
dominating.
big
Yes.
They knocked out
Yes.
the
Al
reigning
Ahly-
champions.
Al Ahly
Absolutely,
Egypt,
absolutely,
right?
And
Yeah.
they knocked out the champions.
Yeah.
So Rivers Hoopers, which is the third team, made the third team after beating Cape Town Tigers for their third trophy. At least that counts, right? Number 4 doesn't count.
They're on the podium.
They're on the podium.
They're standing there.
They're right there.
standing there. They got
I mean,
bronze.
Cape Town is, you know, shoulder
It's
to
nudging,
shoulder.
it's
Right,
nudging it.
they're
Like
right
right
there.
there, we see that.
You know, in the picture,
Yes.
the shoulder might be a slight crop, you know,
Like,
but
who is that?
like we're right there. You see the little bit of the jersey, maybe.
But Rivers Hoopers dominated in their conference, in the Sahara Conference in Dakar. We spoke to Will Perry, the guard, who was awarded the Manute Ball BAL Sportsmanship Award for a second season in a row. I asked him, together with Rivers Hoopers Divine Ike, what they want their legacy to be and what the future holds for them for basketball. Let's check it out. I've seen you play in a couple of teams in the Basketball Africa League. You've been quite outstanding. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave, especially here at the Rivers Hoopers and within African basketball? As this league is just still growing. This is just the 4th season.
Yeah, I hope like when I'm done, people remember me. That's all, and not that I was like some great player or anything, but like that my teammates enjoy playing with me. They have good stories about me. So that's the type of legacy I'm trying to leave.
Divine, what are your aspirations beyond the Basketball Africa League playoffs, both with the Rivers Hoopers and in your professional basketball career?
That's an interesting question. Like I just kind of like to go with the win. Obviously, like I want to play at the highest level, no matter if that's EuroLeague, Euro Cup, the NBA. Like so I just go with the win. Like whatever my agents or my coaches want to help me with or think is the best decision. That's what I'm gonna go with.
It's Divine AK and Will Perry, both of Nigeria's Rivers Hoopers, a team that really dominated at the Sahara Conference. Okay, so let's continue our conference journey up north in Cairo, Egypt. Some of the teams that were there, we also saw a debutant team that we feel like they really deserve to be in Kigali. That was Bangi's, the
Sports club, right.
Sports Club. Yeah. What happened? Why did they make it? And how did they not make it?
The maths did not favor them. I don't know how else to put it. The maths just did not favor them, and Cape Town Tigers took the spot.
We really have no
We racked
idea.
our brains for them, that one.
Bangui was 3-3.
Yeah.
Made sense for them to
Mathematically
Kigali.
speaking, they
Yeah,
should have
to-
been
to
there.
get
Yes,
through.
yes.
But for whatever reason, the BAL folks said,
The BL gods.
yeah, you're right. Said not this, like the Dikembe Mutombo.
No.
Not this time. Bangui, maybe next time.
Yes.
But all in all, regardless, they definitely should be very happy with how they played.
Absolutely.
They came out, as a debutante team, you always have the disadvantage of not understanding what it means to play in this tournament,
Absolutely.
right? Like you play in this season, it's not like as easy as your regular club games. It doesn't feel the same. It's not if it's your first go around, you're playing with players that have had experiences elsewhere, right? So for them to come into it and go up against in the same conference with Al Ahly Libya, who made it all the way to the finals, Al Ahly Egypt, who were the defending champions,
And do really well.
and do really
Yes,
well, and
yes.
still be able to come out, and say, look, we were really here, and we showed that we're not just you can't just push us over.
Yes, absolutely.
So
So they did not make it. However, Cape Town Tigers made it, and we called it the Cinderella. I called it the Cinderella story of the BAL this year. They were not supposed to be in the playoffs, but they went. They actually showed that they deserve to be there.
Yeah, as you mentioned, mathematically speaking, Cape Town Tigers was not supposed to be there. However, they did make it. And even when they did make it, I think one thing, and once again, I keep pointing out, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of the players who play for Cape Town Tigers. And for them, they had a chip on the shoulder because everybody from the jump, all the way, and when I say from the jump, I'm talking about the playoffs, really ruled them out and said Cape Town Tigers is the weakest team at the playoffs. Everybody expected this to be a walk in the park when you're playing against Cape Town Tigers, but I think they shocked a lot of people, making it all the way to that third place playoff. For them, they really, and I remember saying this when I was talking about who they'll be playing next. They didn't want Rivers. A lot of them were like, please, Lord, give us Petro de Luanda. Because they have that
We're
track
running
record.
back, yes,
They've
absolutely.
played Petro. They know how Petro plays, and they've beat Petro before. So for them, I think that was their dream, is like, we really want Petro. And of course, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And they
Can we talk
yeah.
about which one of the games? I think actually the most phenomenal games of the whole playoffs was Cape Town
Fustera
Tigers
versus
playing
Cape
against.
Town.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
You guys were in studio for that game.
Listen,
how was the
when I-
energy?
when I-
It
when
was
I-
just shouting and shouting, bro.
when I
Like,
tell you,
it was a lot of ohs.
if there was a mic, or if there was not a mic, if there was visual representation of, because this was radio, because this was a radio
It was
session
already-
that we were
absolutely,
doing.
yeah.
If there was any video footage of that, you would see all sorts of stuff, jumping and screaming, and just because
Yeah,
there was
the
so much
energy was
excitement.
yeah.
Absolutely.
If you think about that, at one point, Foos scored 13 unanswered points with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like, to blow a 10-point lead
For Cape Town, yes.
for
That
Cape
was-
Town,
yeah.
right, was unbelievable. But then what I loved about it was not only were they able to, first off, shout out Samkelo
Semkelo.
for the
Yes.
shot that basically took it to OT.
Oh.
Three-pointer, he came down. Sometimes when you're the big man on campus, as they say in colleges, right? You got to take the tough shots.
Absolutely.
He has to live with it if he misses that shot. But when he scored that shot, man, took it to overtime.
Absolutely.
And then they were able to finish it through. But honestly, when I'm looking at it, I feel like Foos didn't really play their style that game, because I think Cape Town made it uncomfortable for them. But they rallied back. That showed a lot of resilience, and they tried to, they tried their very best. But unfortunately, Cape Town was just the better team that day.
I think Cape Town really shocked Foos. I once again, not to say that Foos expected it to be a walk in the park, but you could tell from their approach from the jump that they expected to walk out this emerging victors.
Right.
Which, not a knock to anybody. Anybody going in, you're going in to win.
Especially if you're Foos, who's coming into it as the number one ranked team
Absolutely.
into the
You're
playoffs.
playing against the team that everybody's ruled out. I think they walked into that. But seeing that resilience, and once again, it was a back and forth situation where Foos would take the lead. Cape Town would come back. Cape Town would take the lead up until that dying moment, that last final minute. It wasn't 2 minutes. It was last minute.
Yeah, last
When
minute.
Cape Town Tigers is 10 points up.
Yeah.
And you see Foos pulling back
Yeah.
every stride by it goes. Up until that moment
And
where
Semkelo spoiled it
even
for them.
then, even then. So that's even then. As they approached and it went into that OT, you could see that Foos was still like, okay, we're shocked, but we still need to win this.
Right, right.
We still need to win
But
this.
the
There's still a game.
momentum at
But
that
the
point had
momentum
shifted to Cape Town.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When
But
you hit when you
just
hit a
one
you hit a
point.
buzzer beater
Yeah.
that
it's
takes me to the next level. Now
momentum.
everything's
You're
with
riding
me.
high.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm back. That's a
Absolutely.
13-3 run, by the way.
Absolutely.
Bear in mind, they now had to have Samkelo Klele run as the big man.
Yeah.
He's now the point guard.
Right.
Like,
Because
because both
Diarra was out, and then
Yeah.
Dan
Diarra
got
was
hurt.
out, and exactly.
Wow.
So now Samkelo Klele, who is typically not
A
your
point guard,
yes.
is now the guy who's running the ball, which was very interesting
Absolutely.
to see how he conformed into that.
Absolutely.
Right?
He actually, Semkelo made the list for the 2024 All BAL defensive team, which surprised you guys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
To me, I see him as an offensive player, but it showed that he had to take on a different aspect this year with this team in order to assist defensively as well. You know, if you really look at the numbers, he was number 2 right after Lual on the top scoring list. So he was right there. You know, if he just maybe had a couple more points in his last game, he would have been right there with him. So kudos to him for playing on both sides of the court. That shows me that this is a person who you want to go to a war with.
Absolutely.
So shout out to him.
Now, unfortunately, there are some players from Cape Town Tigers that dropped out right after they left at the Kalahari conference. Lebese Selebe, who we had on the show.
Yeah.
I don't know what the future holds for them, but I'm sure they were not feeling so good after seeing how well first of all the fact that the team made it to Kigali, but how well they performed in Kigali. I don't know what their future holds for them in relation to this team.
Well, I mean, Lebese still he doesn't play for the Cape Town Tigers anymore. But he still is playing basketball. I'll call it professionally right now. The last time I checked on his Instagram page, he's playing for a 3-on-3 tournament representing South Africa. So he's still doing his thing, playing basketball. But there's been conversations with other people asking them, "Hey, so what's going on? How are you feeling?" I actually spoke to BP Billy Preston. I also spoke to Prinsloo. And both of them were like, "Oh wow, you know, if there ever was a time to play for the Tigers,
it was now."
Right.
Because they were this close. They were this close, and that's been the furthest that the Tigers have gone since season 1.
Muqbil, Petro de Luanda is the only Angolan team we've seen representing Angola in the last 4 seasons. I guess we could say the same for Cape Town Tigers,
City Oilers.
Yeah. What does that say for the local leagues when there's only one guy, one king that is coming to represent on a continental tournament like this?
Sometimes what it looks like, you know, it's kind of like it's not fair for the league, right? So you'll have a team like a City Oilers or, like you said, a team like Cape Town Tigers who maybe has a little bit more resources allocated to them and just has the ability to pull more weight to be able to get these other players from the outside. To kind of, I wouldn't call it poaching, but poaching, you know what I mean?
No, it is poaching,
in essence, right? Because you can now build this super team from within the country under our badge, in essence. But what it shows me, though, is that the leagues might not be as healthy as we might wish that they could be. You got Petro is another great example as well, where we never hear about any of the other teams from the Angolan leagues. But granted, Petro has performed well throughout the tournament. I would say last year probably was their weakest performance, but this year they made up for it and then some to be able to win it. But I would always love a league similar to the Egyptian league, where you have Zamalek win season
the Rwandan league.
Rwandan league, absolutely. Rwandan has had 3 different teams in it, which shows me that it's a very healthy league. You know, because you can switch the top. There's competition. When you have one person or one team winning every time, it doesn't really look that great for the league. So
absolutely.
But I think this also feeds into what the mandate of the BAL is, right? Is to groom more young talent. We're now seeing a circumstance where as BAL expands and as BAL continues and grows, we're seeing different teams take participation because when it comes down to it, as you mentioned, rightfully so, it's a resource thing, right? If we look at, I can easily speak, for example, South Africa. Basketball is a very elitist sport. And so it's easy for our Cape Town Tigers to continuously be the team that will continuously be in BAL. But as basketball gains more eyeballs and gets more attention, you're starting to see lesser resource teams step into that light.
So are you saying that next year we might see another team make their debut from South Africa?
It's very, very possible. I don't know if it'll be them knocking off the Cape Town Tigers, but it's very, very likely that as we see more eyeballs and the fact that we now have an entire conference being hosted in South Africa, that for me only means so many other teams are now like, wait, I want that spot. I want to be able to play in that spot.
Muqbil, again, going to the winners, we'll talk about the final game, but Petro de Luanda has always had almost the same cast of players, year in, year out. Do you believe they have the capacity to, I guess, groom more younger players? because coming next year, we may not be able to see the same, Again, these are mostly national team players, right?
Right. I think that they can, simply because this year what it showed me was that this year was the handing off of the baton from the Carlos Moraes and the John Pedros to now giving the keys to the Goncalves and Childe Dundao. The younger guys now have the reins, as well as sprinkling on the Nick Faust and the Cummings and some of these players, because this is something that Petro has not done in the past.
Absolutely.
They've kept it to themselves. You really didn't have any outside talent. But this time they're saying, look, this is a BAL year, and this is a BAL league that continues to have a plethora of different players. Why are we not going out to, get these players to be able to assist us as well?
Absolutely.
We've seen Faust scored the most points for the team.
Yeah.
He came off the bench and really started lighting it up offensively. He got them kick-started. Cummings also had about 20-plus points as well. So these are guys that really worked within their system and didn't look like they were out there for themselves, but they worked within the system of Petro. So I can see Petro keeping another one or two guys, maybe even bringing these two guys back potentially for next season.
Absolutely,
if it works out.
Good. That's still really good. All right, so let's go to the playoffs in Kigali.
Yeah.
We were worried that because there was no Rwandan team representing at the playoffs in Kigali, that the playoffs might not have the energy. Usually when a team does not have representation from the local fan base, does not feel energized enough to attend these games. But
boy, were we wrong.
Boy,
were we wrong. The Rwandan people are backing this game of basketball because, as we said, it comes from the top down. The Presidente, El Presidente, he is with it. And he loves the game. He comes in and supports, and the people are loving it as well. You could not even tell who was supporting who because the stadium was just packed. BK Arena was lively from the jump of the playoffs all the way to the finals.
I mean, we saw all these type of characters, including Dave Chappelle. Yeah, comedian Dave Chappelle was in Kigali for the Basketball Africa League.
Huge.
I don't know who and whatever. I mean, shout out to the organizers of the Basketball Africa League in Kigali. They've done a phenomenal job in the last 4 seasons. I'm not sure whether the playoffs are coming back again, season 5, but we have to hand it down to them for having, created these moments that will forever kind of be the hallmark of what a Basketball Africa League looks like, a tournament looks like, Do we have another sound?
So speaking of the playoffs, of course, we have one more interview that we did want to roll out. Muqbil interviewed Jonathan Jordan, one of the players for Fusta Rabat. One of the star players. He actually had 9 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds in their last game where they lost against the Cape Town Tigers. He spoke about his campaign. He spoke about the future of BAL. Let's take a listen to that.
One of my agents reached out to me last summer after I left the European market, and I just kind of want to get into a different market. I've been in Europe and in the G League pretty much my entire career, and I've never been to Africa. And I had been following the BAL competition since the existence of it, and I've always had my eye on it, and it was one of the things that I really wanted to play in and be a part of. And so we just kind of came together and made it happen.
Were you watching the league closely in past seasons, or were you just kind of just like you had heard about it and were just excited to get into it?
Well, for me, it's like a funny full circle moment because I actually attended the first BAL, the first BAL combine up in New York at the Brooklyn Nets facility, the very first combine, and it was shortly right after I tore my meniscus when I was in Europe, and I was just kind of using that as a recovery period. But when I attended the BAL combine, I seen how developed it already was and the potential in it. And so since then, I've just been following it year by year, and every year it seemed to be getting better. And this year has been pretty good, and I'm pretty sure it's going to continue to get better for years to come.
Well, that was Jonathan Jordan, one of the, star players.
Jonathan Jordan, the 5'10" with the 7'2" mentality,
50-inch vertical.
Speaking on the future of BAL, he showed confidence. Like we've been preaching, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're coming to the end of our Nuthin But Net podcast. My name is Jackson Mvunganyi. I was with Muqbil, Yabarow, and Mike Hove. Remember to catch us at voaafrica.com. You can stream past games and also listen in on some of our commentary we had this year. 2024, the BAL is officially ended with the Nuthin But Net podcast.
Yes,
Gentlemen,
sir. My man.
good doing
It's
this.
been a
with
pleasure.
you.
Have a good one. Peace.
Sayonara.